What's up, team? Welcome back to the Impact Purpose Leadership Podcast. I am Rodolfo Bonatis, your host. Let's dive right into today's episode. We've been recently talking about challenges a leader has, and we recently talked about young leaders stepping into a position of leadership and maybe managing people that are older than them. We talked about some tips that you can apply to not overcome being young, but embrace being a young leader. Today, we're going to talk about delegating effectively. How do you delegate effectively? But before we get to delegating effectively, let's talk about what might be happening, not letting you be able to delegate effectively. It's what I call the centralizing monster. You centralizing all of the work. This creature, it's a force that compels leaders to keep a tight grip on every decision, every project, and every operational item to themselves. The centralization game gives you a momentary sense of control, but it's a trap. It's a trap for leaders. Sometimes you get promoted into that leader position. However, most times you get promoted because of the skills you have, not because of the leadership skills you have. You get promoted because you were executing that specific job really, really well. And shout out to you. But maybe your promoting manager or the person above you or your owner couldn't teach you or sees the leadership skills. So when we get into that position, we're still the best. We're still the best executor. So I'm going to centralize everything under me. I'm going to do every project. I'm going to make every decision and not let anybody else do it. So why is it a trap? Because you're creating a culture where nobody has opportunities. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes you do delegate. You delegate because you're sitting right here and you're getting motivated, you're getting pumped to get out there and start delegating and making your life easier. You might have watched the live that talked about delegation, so you're motivated. Maybe your owner said, hey, you got to delegate or else you're going to drive yourself insane. So you're trying. But secretly, deep inside, nobody can do it like you. And then the spiral begins and you get back to centralizing everything. It's a vicious cycle. It's a cycle that leads to the lack of empowerment. You're constantly firefighting what's firefighting because you're responsible for every decision. You're constantly taking care of issues and problems. You're putting fires away. And you don't have a work-life balance. You don't know what work-life balance is. You can't have limits. You go home, your phone is ringing because problems. And why? Because you centralize everything. Because everything needs to be done by you. And if it's not done by you, it's not correct. Now, if your story resonates with mine, you might have grown up believing that hard work is the sole driver of success. And when I say you grew up, I'm talking about all the way back into your childhood. And then that belief was enforced throughout your career, through the very moment that you got promoted because of the hard work that you put. But here's the kicker. Sometimes working smarter means embracing effective delegation. Effective delegation is not just about freeing up your time. It's about creating opportunities for your team. Here's a quick little story for you guys. My boss was always a great believer of me. He always painted this positive picture of me and saying, you are going to be better than me. But one day he asked me, what do you want for your future career here? And I said, I want your job. And what he responded with was the most eye-opening leadership quote I use until this day. Or not even leadership quote, but a leadership concept. He goes, Rodolfo, I want you to do that. You know why I want you to come for my job? Because you taking my job could be one of two things. Number one, I'm not doing my job and I'm getting fired. Or number two, which is what I'm hoping for, if you're coming from my job, it means I'm ready for my next opportunity. It means I given you everything, that there's a different level for me to go at so you can climb into this level. Now imagine if every leader out there looked at leadership like this. That centralizing monster wouldn't exist. Your ego wouldn't be so strong to think other people are coming for your job. My friend, if you execute your job correctly and you bring results, that's it. That's it. But help those around you be part of those results too. Don't be content with a mediocre life of doing the same thing. Thrive for more. So you might ask yourself, how do I delegate effectively? Understand that everything I teach you guys here, it needs work. It needs constant work on it. It's not the first time that you do it, it's going to be perfectly and you're going to get it. That's not how life is. I'm about to give you 5 simple tips that I practiced and failed and tried again and failed again until I got good at it. It's a skill that requires you to develop. Here we go. 5 tips. Number 1, identify, explain, and teach. Start by identifying the right person for this delegation, for what you're trying to delegate. Is it somebody skilled for this project? They bring the right skills to complete this, to execute this? Or is it somebody you're giving an opportunity for to develop those skills? 2 different types of people right here. And because you have these 2 different types of people, your expectations is going to be different for each one of them. So after you identify, you're going to explain the task and tailor that explanation and teaching to how that individual learns. Most leaders mess up right here because A, they don't identify those 2 types of persons, and B, they explain it how they learn, not how that individual learns. Step number 2, set crystal clear expectations, clear line of communication. Be able to communicate openly, ensuring that everyone is on the same page, regardless what needs to be done. You also want to have an open communication to set the expectation for when this is due. Because you understand that individual, you identify skill or opportunity. You also know how long it takes you to finish this project. Now, in the back of your head, when you're setting the expectation for deadline, you're going to think, okay, this takes me and this individual's this, so it should take this much time. And after you present it in a way that you both confirm. Number 3, check in. Now, Rodolfo, check in how? Check in every week? No. I'm not sitting here telling you to micromanage this individual in this project. Set a check-in date. So if this project, the expectation is to be done in a week, let's have a check-in in the middle of that. If the expectation is to be done in a month, 30 days, let's have a check-in 15 days. And during that check-in, you want to be able to offer support, clarify any doubts, encourage questions. Again, open line of communication. Encourage people to come to you and trust you and ask for help if it's needed. Step number 4 is provide feedback. Provide constructive feedback. Don't only focus on the good things, focus on what could have been better for the future. And step number 5, celebrate. Finally, celebrate the victories. Even if the outcome was different than what you expected, acknowledge the effort and the creativity. Sometimes it's just about recognizing that effort. Now, you just ran this cycle with an individual that needed the opportunity, and you celebrated. It wasn't the results that you were looking for, but you provided feedback. And then a week from now happens and you're going to challenge this person again. Guess what? It's going to be better. But it's still not going to be to the way you like it. But you're going to do it again. And every time you do it a little bit more, that person gets better. And guys, that's what leadership is. It's you acknowledging that everything that we're talking about here is not going to happen with the snap of finger. Like I said, it sounds simple theoretically, right? It's about you putting it to action. But being able to delegate effectively is a transformative skill that requires dedication, patience, and continuous refinement. That's why I say you're going to constantly do this. These 5 steps, it's going to be repeated, repeated, repeated. And every time you do it, that individual is going to be a little bit better. Delegating is not just about you distributing unwanted tasks. It's about you creating a culture of trust, empowerment, collaboration within your team. Now, I get it, guys. In the hustle of the day to day of leadership, it's easy to fall into old habits. It's easy to look at a project and say, I got to get this done in 3 days. And if I delegate it, it's not going to get done in 3 days. And you fall back into old habits. But I'm here to tell you, don't. Because when you fall into old habits one time, it becomes twice. Twice becomes 3, 4, 5, and you're back into that cycle. Team, thank you so much for tuning in to this wonderful episode about centralizing monster. It is a real thing. I think we will bring this up into future episodes once again because it's a challenge that leaders, no matter what level of leadership they have, sometimes you struggle with it. And it's because of a belief system that was set at a very young age with you. I'll catch you guys on the flip side of things. Thank you so much, guys. And see you later.